Hey, welcome back to another episode of Maintenance with Mike. So today in this video we're going to talk about beams and ways to protect the raw edge of those beams on your structures. So an example of this would be a beam that runs underneath the carport roof, like on the outside, or a patio. It's the beam that sits on top of the posts where the ends of the beams are usually exposed to elements. So I'll show you an example of where a beam is where it's not exposed to elements, and then we'll have a look at the other ones that we're going to work on. So there's a couple options as far as protecting these, which you could do. You could paint it, you could caulk it and paint it, or you could cap it. This would be an example of a beam that doesn't need a cap. It's protected by a massive 2-foot overhang on the front, and it is definitely not going to be exposed to the elements underneath here. 2/3 of it is covered by the shingles on the front here. But I'm going to show you another one that we're going to cap. So we're up at the shop here, and you can see that this beam is definitely need to get some protection on the end. You can see how the water would come off the deck from above and drip down that fascia. And then if there was some weather blowing, you would definitely get water coming onto the surface of this beam. So we want to cap this so that when water runs off the deck and gets blown in, that it actually keeps it sealed up. Like I said, a couple options is, first of all, would be like this: we could paint it. Second would be you could caulk all these joints or put some sort of sealer on here and then paint it. And then my preference is the third option here, which would be to cap it. So let's get started. So a couple tools that you're going to need: some sort of a speed square or square, a pencil, some tin snips. These are for bending the tin. You could use a vise, you could use wood clamps with a piece of steel. Many ways to bend these, and a stapler, and of course this would be our piece of tin that we're going to wrap it with. You want something that's wide enough to cover the face of the beam and be able to wrap around it like this. So we'll probably be bending this one here and making sort of a cap. So let me show you how we're going to mark that out. So if we take our piece of metal, which is wide enough to cap this, you'll see that this will slide right up underneath here like this. We need to mark the back of this piece here so we know where to cut. So this can slide up a bit more. And this one here, we need to cut it a bit of a slit right here, just so we can get some more underneath. And how much do we need to put underneath is, we can hold this up underneath the beam here, and we can mark this right here. So now we know these two slits that we need to make, one here and one here, needs to come to this height here, just so this can slide up and tuck right underneath there. So we know with our little speed square here how far we want to cut down. This is the depth that we want to cut to. So you put your speed square across there and mark that. What we should do is mark this side, how far we want to cut down. So this piece can be cut like this to that mark. And then the other one, we mark this on the back So we'll start the cut on the back there so we know. And we'll cut it down to this line here. Right? And now this piece needs to be cut away because we want that to slide up a little bit more. So what we can do is draw a line across here. And we can cut this piece out with our tin snip. Hopefully you can see that. Right? You can cut it off or bend it under. There we go. Now we can cut it off. Okay, so that's how we're going to slide that up underneath that beam. So that's the cut you need for that. So let's go try that now and make sure it's going to fit. So you can see now that tucks up underneath this cap here, and we'll be able to do a little bit of caulking here, but that basically gets us tucked up underneath here. I don't know if we can show you that. I'll move you around here. See how that's nicely tucked up underneath here. Caps this side nicely. We'll trim a little bit off of this piece just so this goes up a little bit higher, but yeah, looks good. So I'm going to trim a little bit of these ears just so that we can suck this up a little bit tighter underneath this cap, and then we'll just put a little bit of black silicone underneath here, and then I'll show you how to mark the bottom and the side and bend these so it actually makes a full cap. But does that look nice? That's going to protect the end of those beams way better than just paint. So okay, so we've cut a little bit off of this piece and this piece here, and now we should be able to slide it up just slightly further to get it to go. Yeah, nice. So now we're right underneath that cap. So what we want to do here is we want to hold this tight up underneath here where we want it, and mark the back of this where we want to put the bend to bring it around and cap this side. And then we also want to mark the bottom. We're not going to cut it on that line though. We're going to add 1.5 inches and cut it. That way you can wrap it up underneath when we bend it. And you always want to make sure when you're cutting this stuff, if you're set up like on concrete now here, you want to make sure that it's sitting on some cardboard or wood, because otherwise you're going to scratch the front of that all up. And it's not going to look that nice when you go to put it up. because the black will get scratched quite easily. So you want to be very careful with it. So it's hard to see, but this is the line that we drew here that we want to fold this side in. This is a factory fold on this fascia piece. So this was the line that we drew as the bottom of the beam. And what we decided was we wanted an extra 1.5 inches. Actually, we should measure these. We should measure these, the width of these, because that's really all you can bend is the width of these. So let's check and see if that's what we want. We may only want 1 inch. Okay, so these will bend 1.25 inches, is what this distance is. 1.25 inches. So this is the side here that we want to fold in. And so let's draw our line across here, just as a reference, using the square so we know where we're at. Okay, so that's the bottom of the beam. So when this fold here comes down, this piece is going to get cut off here, and it's going to fold in, and then this piece is going to curl up underneath the beam. So we want we want to add 1.25 inches and mark that. This is where we want to cut this piece, because that's our fold. Right? So this piece gets cut to here. I should probably get a... not really long enough, but we can kind of... take my hat off for you because I'm probably blocking everything from your view. Maybe not. Got my spectacles on today for my not so good eyes anymore. So this is basically what we want to bend, and we're going to cut this piece here and bend that up. We might want to cut this with the square. And we may want to cut this. So you can cut this stuff with a utility knife as well, which is quite nice and gives it a really good finish. Better than that scissor jagged edge of the... see, this edge you won't see as much because it's going to be tucked underneath that drip cap. This raw edge, once you fold it, you'll see it. So we actually want to make a nice cut on that. So let me grab my blade and a square, and we're going to cut that off with an Olfa knife, just so you can see how well that cuts. So once again, this line here is the bottom of our beam. We measured our 1.25 inches, which is the width of these bending tool, or I'm not too sure what the actual word is for that. We're using our square now to line up this line where we want to cut it. And watch your knee for a run out here. You don't want to be cutting yourself. You want to raise the Olfa knife up to the next segment. Give it a break. So you've got a nice new blade exposed. Watch your hand, right? Keep the blade right against the square and cut. Make a few cuts. And you will see the most beautiful edge. And we want this bend to end here. Like that. And then we want to cut this piece right here. Now, you can see how nice that is for a factory edge. The Olfa knife does a beautiful job of cutting this stuff. Not a wrinkle. Here's the difference. This is sort of a hemmed cut, you can see with the side cutters. This is with an Olfa blade. So it makes a big difference. So let's bend this piece first. We know this piece, we marked it. We only want to bend this much. Make sure you keep it on the line. Okay, so that's that edge. That cap. So we've bent that up now. Now we just need to bend. You can see we've left these sort of wings here, right? So when we bend this up, we can tuck these underneath here. Let me bend this one. Right? So now when we bend this lip up underneath, because we've left these pieces, these will actually fold underneath here, which is what we want. So then we take our 1.25 inches, that's what we measured, that these will bend. We start making our bend. See how they're folding inside? And you put it on the line there. See how that's making the cap at the bottom? So we've basically had that come around. It's going to cap that whole piece, right? Doesn't that look smart? We can trim this piece off maybe, just so it sits in there a little better. There. That looks really good. You can just, you know, make sure it's nice and straight with the crimping tool. Make sure all these little 90s are done right. Right? These are the pieces that slide up underneath the beam. Okay, let's take you over and have a look at that. So here's the piece, right, with the caps wrapped on the bottom. So when we push this now, it basically squishes itself onto the beam, right, because we've folded both sides in and hemmed it. This would pass up through here-ish. What do you think of that? Pretty nice, eh? Now that's a cap. Beautiful. And really, all you need is a staple here and a staple here on this side. That's really all you need to do. You don't need to get carried away with that. We're going to put one staple in this hem right here. You see that? And then we'll do one on the other side. Same sort of height on this side, just to hold this in. I'm just going to put a little bit of caulking underneath here to finish that off, seal it up even more. I like to use Big Stretch. This is Big Stretch Black. This is not a promotional video for Big Stretch, but this stuff is pretty awesome. It's really flexible. It's black, and dries really nice. I would say that's better than paint or caulking. Water's going to come off this deck. There's a drip cap here, obviously. Water comes off this patio, hits this drip cap. Sure, it's probably going to kick it out, but if the wind is blowing, it's going to blow it against here and here. So now we've got a nice aluminum powder coated surface here. Hey, thanks for watching another episode of Maintenance with Mike. So that is capping off your carport or deck beams to keep them out of the elements from water running off the top of the deck, down the fascia trim, and getting into the front of the beams. As I said, first step would be paint, second step would be caulk and paint, third step would be cap them. So totally 100% sealed now from driving rain or any elements now. I appreciate you hanging out with me for today. Thanks for watching another episode of Maintenance with Mike, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.